I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Songsters.
Songsters? How many sters do I have here? It's just me and my crew. Here we are. Hey, how you doing? Well, you can't tell.
You're welcome.
Everybody bailed on me today, so there's no Stu, there's no David, there's no Kim. It's just and you. Just us chickens. So, do you have yours up there too? So, since we have Laura Weber here, or she's going to be here.
Well, she's going to be here.
We'll sing in her honor. In her honor. So let's, I'll do an intro first, okay?
Yesterday was Veterans Day, and you all and we all were taught as we were growing up the importance of service, the dedication that our veterans gave during their time of service. After their service is done, we don't always focus on the needs of our veterans. 1 in 5 veteran families suffers from food insecurity. And so that means that that's not an unusual thing for our veterans. We all, those of us who were able to serve and those of us who did not, have an obligation back to all of our veterans. Everyone who on our behalf answered the call. When they come home, in whatever shape they are in, we have a responsibility to them from that point forward. This club has a number of programs that support veterans. You all should be profoundly proud of what you do. From those programs where we work with Las Positas College to help those who are re-entering civilian life, getting their education, learning the ropes of how to make that transition, to just what we did in here last week when we raised money for our 3 local food banks. Veterans are a big piece of those in need. And so you all, through your support of the club, through your support of our volunteering efforts, are supporting our veterans going forward. And I did want to give you a quick update. We had more than $19,000 pledged last week for the fundraiser. The Morning Club has had more than $16,000 pledged, and actually there's some more that's likely to come from there. Your board of directors yesterday met, and on behalf of all of you, gave an additional $10,000 of club funds. So a big round of applause to the club for the tremendous support. Thank you. So, we all take that obligation to our veterans seriously, and want to thank you.
Thank you very much for those thoughts, past President Mark. Next up, meeting frontline. Spur reporter, Linda Stanford, and her twin. Spur publisher. Christine Musty. Christine, I see you way over there. Audiovisual, Don Wentz, who's been working several days this week, getting everything ready for today's meeting. Thank you, Don. Audiovisual. Reader, Margaret Palmer. And more frontliners. Oh, look at this. There we go. Buck and Beck are back. David Gardens. Love Whisperer, Kathy Coyle. Kathy, are you here today? She may be on Zoom or something. Okay. Public Outreach, Kelly Bowers. Kelly is always looking out for her public image throughout. Right. And videographer, Sonia Sheffield, right over here.
Hi, everybody.
Next up, introduction of visiting Rotarians and guests. Do we have any visiting? We do. Bob Tuckman, would you please stand?
Okay. Yes, I am, sir. President Pat, fellow Rotarians, it is my honor to introduce Bob Tucknott, electrical contractor, also president at large, I think Dublin Rotary, and does amazing things for our community. Let's all welcome Bob.
Any other visiting Rotarians today? I see no other visiting Rotarians. Guests of Rotarians.
Okay, I'm going to start with my guest. This is Rick Vistas. Am I saying that correctly? Yes. Oh, I'm so excited. Rick has come to several meetings, and he has decided to join our club. So I'm very excited. He's looking forward to working with our club. You guys have actually wooed him, so I want to thank each and every one of you. And also, too, he's looking forward to volunteering and being part of all the wonderful things that we do in the community. So thank you. We hope we don't disappoint.
News, Rick.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
President Pat, fellow Rotarians, it's my pleasure today to introduce this young lady, Jennifer Ramirez. Jennifer's an attorney in town, I think fairly new to town.
Yes, we're new.
And she's quite active in children's sports. So please welcome Jennifer Ramirez.
Welcome, Jennifer. Other guests of Rotarians? Okay, next up, announcements. Oh, by the way, next week, we'll be back here in the Palo Verde room. So, just note that. Yeah, and the next up.
Thank you, Pat. Okay, so I was planning to do this a couple of weeks ago, but there are other priorities. But I'm going to catch up, and I also will send out by email to all the members who are not here to make an appeal. I'm going to give a quick update on where we are and tell where we need to be. The Polio Plus member pledge, I think when we had the presentation of polio, we kind of encouraged to be 100% participation. And last year we had 25 pledges, and we have 7, I think 9 now, are the new pledges. And as of now, the donors fulfill the pledges are about 18. I'm sure it's out of mind. I'm going to send a little reminder to go ahead and please donate to the Polio Plus. So those who are not, you still have a pledge form, please complete it. And I think it means a lot to the Rotary to have all the commitments to eradicate the polio. And please do it online, and actually encourage you to do it on recurring donations online. Makes it easy. You don't have to remember. Even if you forget, it will happen. You can do as little as a $10 a month or whatever to catch up with that. Next one. Okay. On where are we? Overall, Polio Plus as well as the TRF. We're not doing that good this year. I thought I'd just compare to where we were last year and where we are now. Annual fund, we raised about 18,000 by November 9th last year. We are 9,800. Polio Plus, we raised 15,000, we are at 6,000. And then I got a few checks today, so even if it is added up, we still have a way to go. So I'm going to send an appeal to all of them to please go ahead and donate that. We have a lot of catching up to do. So, next one. All right. The year end is coming, and those who are looking for a tax deduction, this is the right opportunity to make a donation to TRF. And I encourage you to do annual fund, because we get back 50% in district DDF that we use for the local grants as well as the global grants. I'm a little delinquent, and I'm going to put together an overall summary of how the annual funds have helped locally. And put together, you'll be impressed, amount of the money we got back from the TRF and we utilized for district grants. So, and I'll do that in the next couple of weeks. So, help us reach our TRF goals. Annual fund is 72, Polio Plus is 25, and you're welcome to donate to endowment, and you'll be hearing more about Bequest Society later on. And our club is really blessed with the many Paul Harris Society members who contribute $1,000 or more. Because of them, we are able to do a good job. Thank you very much.
JR, I think you're
Yes,
back there.
yes,
You
sir.
got a mic. Okay.
Back here. Rick, we have the crab feed coming up next year. We're doing the meetings now. We're looking for anybody that can have a good time hanging out with some really good people. I know there's a lot of you here. We have a meeting tomorrow at Bob's house, 5 o'clock, and looking for volunteers to come and help. We do have a good group of people, and we could use more help. Also start thinking about donations for the raffle and for the silent auction, the live auction, things like that. So if you have any hookups or connections where you can get us some items, please do so. If you're out to dinner, hit them up. Hit them up for a gift certificate. We're looking for a minimum of a $50 donation of something from every member. And if you can't find anything, we'll take cash. And we'll put it together and purchase some things for the donations or for the raffle and things like that. So,
I was just going to say that's perfect, because sometimes we can't think of what it is that we want to donate, or we're busy. $50 goes a long way.
Right, and that's the
That's a long
special. After this month, it goes up to 100. Thank you.
Thank you, JR. Next up, next week, our own Jackie Williams Courtwright will give a presentation on Buck Sharp, a court case in the origin and history of Alden Lane Nursery. I know you're all going to enjoy this one. So we'll be in the Palo Verde room next week, please remember that. And I think we're ready to introduce our very special guest speaker, Laura Weber.
Okay, it's my privilege to introduce and welcome Laura Weber, who's the conductor and music director of the Livermore Amador Symphony. I think we all know her and love her. This is her 11th season at the podium of the symphony. Laura has established herself as a cultural and community leader in Livermore. She is widely admired as a dynamic, creative, and engaging conductor. She is dedicated to inspiring audiences through the power of symphonic music. Laura has a Bachelor of Music degree in vocal performance from Oberlin Conservatory of Music and a Master's in Music degree in orchestral conducting from the University of Southern California, USC. In addition to her position with the symphony, Laura is a music director conductor of the Palo Alto Philharmonic. She brings a broad range of experience to our symphony, including conducting posts at the Baltimore Symphony Orchestra, the Charleston Symphony Orchestra and Chorus, and Los Angeles Debut Orchestra. She has guest conducted at prestigious symphonies in San Francisco, Pittsburgh, Louisville, and Chicago. So please welcome Laura Weber.
Is it okay if I take over the computer space? I'm graduated to not writing it down anymore, but I have a piece of paper. Anyway, hi everyone. Thank you, Sonia. I appreciate that generous introduction, and all of these degrees from wherever. That was how many eons ago now? I must point out, though, that one of my undergraduate heroes, Jenny Douglas, is our first soloist in December this season. Jenny was in my first orchestra that I ever conducted. I feel so terrible for her because I was 19 and I had no idea how to conduct an orchestra, had never done it. At the Oberlin Conservatory, you could just put up a sign that said, hey, who wants to play Beethoven or whatever. And I did a concert because my teacher said, well, if you want to conduct, there's 3 ways to learn how to conduct. Read about it, go watch other people conduct, or conduct. And this is, of course, secondary to being as good a musician as you can be. And Jenny was in the viola section of that orchestra. She is one of the foremost violists in the Bay Area. She's principal viola of the New Century Chamber Orchestra and the Marin Symphony. She's an incredible humanitarian and has a career as a writer as well. And she's just a really great person. And I mean, I haven't made music with her in 35 years.
Oh my God.
But we were raised together, you could say, musically. And so what an honor to bring her before you all with the Livermore Amador Symphony. So that's our first guest artist of the season. So let me, without further ado, first just toot the horn of the symphony for a moment. I'm so proud of this orchestra. We learned just the other night of the incredible celebration of service that the Tri-Valley Nonprofit Alliance uplifts and upholds so many of us in this community. They granted us the honor of the award for Impact Award for Arts and Culture. And that really goes through our whole organization, everyone in its leadership, every single musician on stage, everyone giving so generously of their time to make sure that we're upholding a mission of service through the arts in this community, and I'm just really proud of the orchestra, and I'm really grateful to TVNPA for acknowledging that, so thank you, TVNPA. Quick update before I get to the surprising topic at hand. Surprising mostly because it was a surprise to me that it would be a topic. An update on, since I last saw you, which really wasn't that long ago, last April I was here, or maybe it was March. We realized in the Symphony that we could be doing more in every aspect of our impact on this community to collaborate with other entities, with other groups, with other arts organizations, other cultural organizations, service organizations, to just grow our capacity to reach out and help those groups also grow, so that we grow together. Essentially, collaboration, as you well know, builds community, and an orchestra is a community in and of itself, and each member of our orchestra has a community around that person, and we are so fortunate in this community to have communities of scientists, communities of immigrants, communities of artists, dancers, singers. We have many arts organizations. So we put together a season where we were collaborating with groups as diverse as Hindustani and Odissi dancers of Indian classical dance on stage with us, doing music in our concert, to working with Quest Science Center, Monya, I saw you earlier, which was such a perfect representation of kind of two enormous pillars of this community, art and science. And what we found through this process, those are just two examples, not only did we bring more people into the theater, but we learned, and it promoted more creative thought, more visionary ideas, more, I guess, openness to to different ways of thinking about things. With Quest in particular, Dan Bergman joined me on the stage, and he had immersed himself in the music. I was, expecting all the science expertise, which he gave, but he routed it all through the music, and I had all these questions that had popped into my head about what Holst could have understood about the planets based upon what he could see through a telescope in his time. And it made for this sort of switch of, like, we each tried to get into each other's wheelhouse. And that was a theme for the whole evening, with Quest bringing things in the lobby, and a guest speaker into the lobby to answer questions, Tri-Valley Stargazers. And we had a sold-out concert, which is great, but the best thing about this, for me, is that in the lobby at intermission, or afterwards, excuse me, I was surrounded by more, like a dozen at least, people who had literally never been to a concert at which an orchestra was performing before. Not just that they were new to the Livermore Symphony or to the Bankhead Theater, but they had never heard symphonic music performed live in front of their faces. And of course we played very exciting and quite well-known music, Holst Planets and Star Wars. And we had we put all the eggs in one basket. We had a lighting designer who was a rhythm painter who literally made, he didn't paint the walls, but he painted them with light, basically. It was really spectacular, so it's not possible for me to tell you why we had all these new people. Was it because we played Star Wars? Very well could be. Was it because we really talked a lot about this a little sooner than we might have otherwise? Maybe. Was it because we were going to have this extra spectacular visual element? Maybe. Was it because Quest was involved? Quite likely. Was it something else? And bottom line is, no one can ever answer that question. Anyone in marketing knows that you don't really for sure know. But what I loved most about this was that these new listeners who were completely captivated by the experience that they had, did not come up to me and immediately go, oh my God, dun, dun, da, 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 da. I love that music. They came up to me and said, what was that incredibly beautiful song that woman sang? It was about the moon and that composer from the Bay Area. Like literally a 3-minute song written by Kurt Erickson, one of the leading composers in the Bay Area, was one of the biggest topics among that group of people. The other piece they were really riveted by was a 6-minute work by a relatively lesser-known French composer named Henri Duparc called L'Étoile, To the Stars, which I programmed because it's beautiful, also a suggestion of Alan Frank to put on the program. And we dedicated it to him. And I stood there going, I just love this. You come in hooked by one thing, and you leave having fallen in love with another, and it breaks down the barrier that we all think might be there of, ooh, it's classical symphonic music, and I don't know what that means or is. I can't follow that thread. I wasn't trained in that field. Why would I enjoy that art? It was a reminder to me that it is truly true that this art is for everyone and need not have a prerequisite in order to be enjoyed. It just is for us all. So we've learned from that. This season we will continue doing these kinds of things, probably not in that order of magnitude. We aren't bringing back our Mad Alchemy light design this year. And there's only one score to Star Wars. But we are this year featuring Cantabella Children's Chorus, joining us for holiday singing in the lobby at our joyful Sounds of the Season opener in December. We're bringing Element 116 to play some romantic tunes for our Valentine's Day, literally on Valentine's Day program in February. And our spring program in April is called Spring Awakenings, and we're playing the beautiful music of Aaron Copland, Appalachian Spring, and collaborating with the Livermore Art Association that will be judging artwork of all mediums that will have been inspired in part by the music we're performing, and then that will be curated together and filmed in order to have a presentation of this art alongside and in concert with the musical selections performed, and also some of the art will be on display in the lobby. These are the kinds of things, and so we're continuing to try to reach out and see if we can keep doing these sort of collaborative ideas. So, what is the surprising topic of note today? I was probably, I often speak to you about the power and impact of the arts and why they're important. And I know for many of you I'm preaching to the choir, and you've heard a lot of the things I've had to say about those things, and I'll say them again. But the other day in my backyard, I was pulling a weed or setting a gopher trap or something. And my neighbor's grandkids were playing in the backyard. Oldest is 12, youngest is 5. They were having a pretend wedding. And they were running all around the yard, squealing with delight. And it was just great. It was wonderful to overhear. And then the 7-year-old shouted to the 12-year-old, "Hey, you be the AI." "Hey, Samantha, you be the AI." "Okay." "What?" So I froze in my trimming or whatever I was doing. Wait a minute. And then it continued, like it was normal banter. It was normal. It was normal. Except for, okay, you be the AI. Like you can't plan a wedding without AI, I guess. But it wasn't that, it's not as though everyone's imagination stopped working. It's not as though they weren't continuing to be spontaneous human beings together. But the fact that a character in make-believe with normal kids in the backyard is AI really hit me. That was one experience. Last week, I had to do an emergency program change with another orchestra. We had to sub out Symphony for a concerto because a soloist is ill. And because it was a little late to make the change, we had limitations on the size of the orchestra. We'd already made decisions about, okay, 2 clarinets, 2 oboes, 2 flutes, no timpani, smaller strings. You have only a certain number of pieces of music you can select. And I was really confident that the Mozart symphony I was considering fit those parameters. I wasn't at home with my score. I wanted to confirm and make sure, so I got out my computer and I Googled, well, or whatever, I did a search for Mozart's G minor symphony, K550, to look at the facing page of the score on a PDF, on a digital capture of the entire work. And an AI chatbot went, looks like you're trying to read a long document. Would you like a summary? And I thought, that's fascinating. What would that be? I'm looking at a musical score. What would that be? I don't have time to find out, because I just need to guess it's 2 clarinets. Closed the lid on my computer and thought, oh, what? And my mother-in-law has just moved to assisted living, and we're helping her with her major medical, and I was with her at the doctor, and this wonderful doctor, excellent doctor, you know, sat down, hello, how are you, why are you here? By the way, I have a little device here, it's an AI assistant for the appointment. I'm sure many of you have had in your doctor's appointment somebody point out that a computer is involved in recording what's happening or taking notes. Great, fine. Couple days later, on the My Health portal online, we get the after visit summary. Now, this appointment went really well. My mother-in-law was engaged with, there was eye contact, there was a physical exam. There's nothing wrong with this. I'm sure that the AI assistant was useful somehow. But the after visit summary was word for word what came out of my mother-in-law's mouth in the appointment. I was there. It wasn't even grammatically corrected. It was just word for word. Okay. But what made me wonder was, so in the future, the fact that that's written down implies that it's understood. Implies that that was heard. That that was counted, or is to, you know, and I'm sure people would go back and read it, but there is no way in the amount of time that transpired that that physician would have had the time to go back and make sure, you know, I read it and there were some strange transliterations there. And it just made me think, wait, just because it was captured and then repeated somewhere else does not mean we understand it, right? Because we had an exchange with the doctor, I know we did. But there it is. Wow. So I had all kinds of things I wanted to talk to you about. But I am thinking, for the first time in my career, that classical symphonic music is going to save humanity. There is not an AI replacement for this experience, or many experiences like it. So humanity is advanced, is nurtured, is contained in our cultural arts for all time. I think it was John F. Kennedy who said, it's printed on the Kennedy Center somewhere, and I'm going to misquote it, but paraphrase, that when the dust of civilization settles and they look back, they won't look at the things we built and the buildings and the, you know, they'll look at our arts, they'll look at our literature, they'll look at our cultural heritages, what's the plural of heritage? Yes, they'll look at what did we create in our cultural arts, how did we express ourselves? These forms, these art forms, whether it's symphonic music, choral music, opera, dance, theater, visual arts. There's so many different kinds of art from so many cultural perspectives and times. This is where we collect our experiences, our diverse experiences, our stories. Our history is told through the arts. And you can, and in fact, it has happened, you can train AI to compose. We already know ChatGPT can write your essay. In fact, it's writing your emails, if you let it. And sometimes it does a pretty good job. But that device does not care about you. It doesn't have a concern about its output. It doesn't have empathy. It cannot intuitively understand you. It can only read back what it has been taught and then learn. I know that AI learning is real, and so it infers what it has been taught and regurgitates potentially new ideas, but they're all based in what it was taught on a limited scale, right? And from whatever the bias was of the person who inserted the information to begin with. So you can train AI in the compositional style of Beethoven, and in fact, there is a Beethoven 10th Symphony that has been written by AI. Spoiler alert, it is not very good. But it's impressive because it is stylistically quite like Beethoven. If you understand his compositional style, you can recognize, that's a repeating short motive. And you hear a lot of da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da. A lot of Beethoven's famous motives show up in this 10th Symphony. But it's like, okay, I'm going to cycle through this algorithm based on this traditional idea that was repeated many times in Beethoven symphonies, and then I'm going to move on and cycle into this one, and then I'm going to do something with sforzandos, which are short, loud notes, and piece it all together in symphony. And real human beings played it, and a real human conductor conducted it. And it was interesting, but it's just not, you must take the risk of human error and failure and let people try. Because it is in the doing and the trying where we find our empathy and our collective understanding. So I don't think this art form is at risk of being replaced. Now, could AI, it can compose music, it can edit music, it can correct what it edits, although you better correct it also. It could be a copyist, it could be, there are lots of chores that it could do. Kind of like the way pretty much AI was anyone here ever a paralegal? Do you think we're going to need that anymore? Probably not. So there's a lot that can be replaced, maybe even it's a good idea in some cases, free up some people to do some other things. But our collective group music making, you cannot farm that out. You can't replace human intuition. You can't replace human empathy. Now I've let my computer go dead, and I must read you a quote before I ask for your thoughts on this. Bear with me, I can only do one thing at a time. So, another example, a Beethoven song recently won a Grammy called Now and Then. It's the first time artificial intelligence was involved in winning a Grammy. Artificial intelligence was used to lift John Lennon's voice off of the last recording he made with his voice, which George Harrison had tried to do while he was alive, but he couldn't get the quality, he he couldn't clean it up enough to really use the voice. So that's an interesting, beautiful way of using AI to collaborate. Yo-Yo Ma makes recordings of himself improvising a melody, then puts that on a loop track and improvises with himself and records with himself. So do many other artists. Recording devices are a form of technology that have altered classical symphonic music for a long time ago. We don't know what's real or not in a recording. We keep talking about Beethoven. That was a good idea to open with Beethoven, roll over Beethoven, but not for AI. The idea that you can compose with a computer-generated sound involved, of course. Symphonic music can be imitated quite creatively and beautifully by synthesized, sampled sounds. That's been going on for generations. But it is not the same as dozens of people breathing together, blowing air through a reed that they made out of, material that they chose, and then trying to play that note in tune with somebody drawing horsehair on a bow across a wooden box that vibrates, right? You can't, and the communication it takes, because first oboe might be here, and first chair, first violin might be there, and you and I have to somehow listen to each other across the room and all the people in between. And that act is deeply humanizing, and it creates common ground among people of radically different life experiences, radically different political positions, different cultures, different ages, different races, different whatevers. When we show up for rehearsal, whatever has just happened and the rest of the day is on the back burner, there's nothing quite as amazing as trying to play so softly that you can hear that oboe solo together. And nothing quite as amazing as sharing that quality of sound with an actual audience, which is impacted by what they're hearing. So these things really can't be replaced. I think there's a role for this technology in music, for sure, but it's an element to add, or to play off of, or to use to speed up our process of copying and editing, or something like that. And I must say, I'm not the only member of my profession thinking about this right now. And much of what I'm thinking is informed by the thinking of my colleagues and my fellow orchestral musicians out there. But you can't fake creating something together in real time between human beings, and we shouldn't try. And another thought and concern I have about this, which my daughter's generation is deeply concerned about, she's 23. Will real human exchange and experiences and live collaborative events, even like this, become a premium experience? Will it become inaccessible? Will it be the thing that is unaffordable? Because you realize we're already, I think, aren't we already a little bit starting to turn away from these things, right? Because it's just awful right now, what is shared, the news, the information, the overwhelm. Many people have gone, I can't. Not gonna read my email today. I certainly have said, no, the phone goes in over there for hours at a time. We're starting to turn away because we can't take it anymore, and people are starting to realize what they're losing and what they've lost. My concern, and my daughter especially, her concern is, okay, as this begins to happen, will the accessibility thing flip? Will it become you only get access to real life if you can afford it, or if you are in a place where it's offered. So we have to work even harder. As Chris Carter so wonderfully says, we have to give till it hurts, to continue to support the cultural arts, to continue to make them accessible, for the Livermore Amador Symphony to continue doing what it does with its free concerts in the fall and in the winter, and its in-school outreach concerts at no cost to the kids or the students or the teachers of the districts that we serve. All of the groups that, like us, we need to be able to continue doing that. The Bankhead still needs to be able to offer its free programs. This gets harder as things are falling apart globally, and we have fires to put out and people on the front lines, and why were we giving money to the arts? This is why. We want our doctors and our nuclear engineers and our computer technology experts to understand the human experience through our collective understanding that is captured in the arts. We want them to be artistic and musical, because we all are. We need a place to practice that together. And it'll get harder. We need to invest more. We need to work to preserve. So just the other day, on one of my 20-minute periods of time where I'm allowed to read the news without going insane, my eyes landed yesterday on a guest essay that was specifically about the emotional impact of our, the way we live our lives through and on technology. And it speaks exactly to this. And so I'm just going to read 3 quotes from it, and then I would love to know more about what you think about this. So this is excerpted from the guest essay in the New York Times, just I think it was yesterday, by Dr. Stephen Barry Anthony, who is a psychoanalyst. Quote, "To tackle the problems of technology, we have to return to our emotional lives for their own sake, and not always leap to doing or changing or fixing. This is the only viable pathway if we are to remain in touch with our humanness and to preserve love, empathy, emotional and spiritual richness, and the capacity to create art and music that reflect our inner lives." Later in the essay, he writes, "Artificial intelligence chatbots are disquieting. One second we are drinking from the fire hose of social media, or in my case, looking up Mozart K550 to see if my memory is right about the instrumentation, and then suddenly there is a gentle voice in the screen that appears to recognize us. What happens to our emotional selves in these milieus is a central question of our time. To answer it and to steer our relationship with AI accordingly, we need to be able to remain in touch with our emotional experiences." And then finally, and this one really is the money quote, "Living our lives through technology, many of us may encounter great swells of grief for all the lost moments. The danger, I think, is not that we will feel this grief. The danger is that we won't." And this, my friends, is what the arts does. It gives us a place to put our shared emotional lives, or our not shared emotional lives. It gives us a place where it's okay to feel. So I just really didn't expect but you know, between my neighbors and an AI chatbot trying to explain Mozart symphonies to me, I just had to bring this before you, because so many of you are scientists. So many of you interface with these technologies now, and I wonder how you feel about it. So that's it, and I hope you'll come. These are all over the tables. Please join us this season. Yeah.
Laura, thank you. Always amazing. And you used AI to find the answer to a question. You had a very specific question you wanted to know. Do you think we're losing something by being able to find that out. In other words, finding out that the Gary Conservatory Institute of Music was fictional, if that were done very early in the story, sort of would have ruined the whole human emotional interface that was based in the beginning on a lie, and ultimately maybe less so in the end. So, do we lose something by being able to find the answer?
I think that's what the essay was speaking to, that we're increasingly, if we have a question, or if we feel a feeling, or if we need a data point, we immediately act to fix and change with technology, as opposed to taking a moment and sitting with that lack of knowledge or emotional insecurity and experiencing it. In my case, in that moment, I was confirming knowledge I already had, that I would have gone, I have this, pile of music in my house, I wasn't there. But I am concerned about that we lose our capacity to think and feel for ourselves, and that skills will be lost as a result.
It was interesting to hear about the empathy that need in creation of music and all of the things that we live through. But the AI is progressing very fast.
Yeah.
And there is things that call physical AI. What do you think, is it possible or will it possible to replace the players with robots that will play perfectly because they are trained to do it perfectly, any concert?
So I think it will be possible for machines to play music perfectly in terms of it is the right note, in the right rhythm, in the right, it's in tune, like, in other words, it sounds correct in relation to the other notes being played. But in a way that's already happening. When you watch a live stream for a major American orchestra or a major European orchestra on Zoom, like during the pandemic, you're not hearing what those instruments sound like live. You're hearing it in some amount of instantaneous post-production. It's being rebalanced by an engineer in real time. So I, as the conductor, in order for the bassoons to be heard at the beginning of the development section of Beethoven 5 First Movement, have to suppress the sound of the rest of the orchestra, or you won't hear the bassoons. But in the live stream, I wouldn't have to do that. And a machine is altering that. But an orchestra of robots, they might be able to technically play all the right notes and rhythms, but they would not be intuitively responding with empathy or emotion or spontaneity, or that's what's lost. The creative aspect would be replaced by perfection that is preordained, predetermined.
Do we have another question over
I
there?
ask, like most people about AI, is this dangerous? And then I think about the culture that I lived with at Lawrence Livermore Laboratory, where you question everything. If you accept an answer from AI, it can be dangerous. If it spawns you to think and ask questions, it can be of value.
Mm-hmm. I agree. That's why I think it's interesting to, it made me think to hear Beethoven 10's Symphony, composed by an AI entity. My children feel this way, but that requires a very specific education. That has to really be taught as a value. So without that value, it may have the opposite effect. It may suppress questioning. But it's like a research tool. It's a tool. I mean, we've been saying this about social media for a while. It's how you use it, not it itself that's the problem. So I do think when used well, it can promote human creativity and thought.
I actually had a question, maybe a comment. I know I go into the schools a lot,
And when you see kids that are so engrossed in their phones and computers, I notice social skills are kind of lacking. And the kids don't, I don't know, you seem to see a lot of kids that are kind of isolated because their friend is their laptop or their little computer. And I don't know, I've used a little of that, what is it, GTP or whatever, to fix paragraphs when I'm sending them out. So it is handy. You got to proof them though.
Yeah.
But I know schools use a lot of that, but I don't know, I kind of see that there's not always so much good with technology when it comes to young students, because it does affect them in a way where they have issues when it comes to socializing, and then they become social outcasts. And I worry about that, given the environment we have, and then plus kids that are getting bullied online, that just drives me nuts. So it's a tool, but it doesn't, there's no rules, and that's kind of scary.
Well, and some countries are starting to try to implement rules. I think Denmark, if I'm remembering correctly, is about to say you have to be over the age of 15 to use social media. I have no idea how they'll implement that. I have to say in COVID, so I had a senior in high school and a ninth grader when COVID hit. And in our household, you didn't get a phone until, we tried to not give our daughter a phone in her freshman year of high school, and then by the end of that year, it was just mandatory. Like, you couldn't do school without a cell phone. So we allowed her to have it, but didn't allow anything other than, like, the ability to log on to whatever the school needed you to do and make a phone call. My son, we waited till he was in high school, then we got him a phone. But did not allow social media, Discord, all these other things that there's so many different ways of communicating on social media now. Then it's COVID. And all of a sudden one day, we're like, okay, Sam, actually get all of it. Get all of it. Otherwise you will be socially isolated. But it has altered things. My children tell me that they feel weird a little bit that they have an ease with making phone calls. It's rare for them to find another of their peers who feels as comfortable just going, oh, I need to talk to this person, so I'm going to pick up my phone and call them. Other people are phobic about that. They have to text. They can't talk. Or they have to like get into a mindset where they're going to talk. In part, they think it's because they didn't have the option when they were in their puberty or just exiting puberty years of communicating in any other way. Like, we literally were like, yeah, if you get a flat on the way to school, go to the office and tell them why you're late. You don't need a phone. Just walk the rest of the way, be late, tell them what happened. People thought we were crazy.
Not my house.
So and you know, I'm a musician. I don't know jack squat about this stuff. I'm just giving you my perspective from what I have experienced in my encounters with children, with doctors, with my own computer, and how that makes me feel about my art form, because my whole life and the whole life of every other symphonic musician I know, we are born and bred being told, your art form is dying, everyone in your audiences is too old, the music isn't representative enough of your culture, nobody knows what this is, you're not as popular as Taylor Swift, so you're just not going to exist in 50 years. And that hasn't happened yet. And all of a sudden I feel like, nope, we're going to be the ambassadors for retaining our impulsive humanity. So.
So, Laura, we're very grateful that you were able to listen to us today. I think you know the drill now. We'd like to offer you a bottle of red wine, white wine, or crow hair and olive oil.
Ooh, I gotta go with your red wine.
Yes.
I'm holding out my own heart here. Thank you. And let me make sure I didn't take the wrong computer. That would be funny. I did because all my dad's passwords are on a post-it note.
That's how you keep things secure.
So we do have a bottle of Cruder Ridge.
Wow.
Cab Franc.
Cab Franc. Ooh. Okay.
Thank you so much, Laura.
Thank you. Thank you. It's such a joy and an honor to be with you all. And I couldn't resist the Costco pizza. It's my favorite. Sure. Thank you.
Good to see you.
Sure,
So
yeah.
next week, we'll be back here, same room, and Joel, I think you have a special announcement.
I'm just asking,
this was
since we're
here,
changing
right?
venues, are we also changing times? Is this going to be at noon?
It's
That's going to be
noon.
really interesting.
Okay.
Noon
Please let
here.
the president-elect know this.
Hey, Bill. Noon.
Is this ours?
No,
that's
this is, I got
yours.
mine.
Oh, you've got
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I know, we'll wait for him.
Hey.
To ring my bell, the number.
Am I in front of your
No.
camera? Oh. I have to ask about the Zoomers.
That was perfect
Okay.
timing.
Rotarians, we do have a
How
ticket
losing our
here,
soul, and I
so
used
be sure to
the
pull yours
soul.
out and look. Last four numbers are 9209. Who has the winner?
Meeting adjourned.